Good morning, O'Neill. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. It is Thursday, April 9th, and it was just so awesome seeing so many students outside during our teacher parade yesterday. It really uplifted my spirits, and I hope it uplifted yours. Remember to log in and learn and have some fun, and make sure that you're checking in with your teachers and just continuing to stay connected. We miss you, we love you, and we hope that you're doing well at home and staying safe and healthy. Today, I'm in Miss Eller's room hanging out, and we are reading another tall tale, and it's called The Giant of Seaville. I love tall tales, like I've been saying, because there's always a little bit of history in it, and also just some really kind of interesting facts that we got to figure it out. It's almost like a mystery. Is it true? Is it not true? What really happened? What was made up? What was exaggerated? I love all that stuff with tall tales. So this is The Giant of Seaville by Dan Anderson. All right, here we go. Life was too quiet in the little town of Seaville, Ohio. Some would say it was so quiet that if you listened carefully, you could hear the corn grow. Nothing exciting ever happened. But one day, a stranger came into town on the noon train. He was so tall that the only way he could ride in the passenger car was to sit sideways on the seat and his head and shoulders sticking out of the window. This stranger was a giant. And that's what I'm talking about. Is that true? Could you sit with your head and body outside of a window on a train and like not get hurt or like bugs in your mouth or something like that? That's what you got to figure out with tall tales. What's true and what's exaggerated. As the train slowly came to a stop at the station platform, the giant couldn't stand another minute in the cramped car, so he decided to climb out. With his hand on his back, he groaned, straightening to his full height. He was dressed in a fine coat and vest, and perched atop his huge head, he wore a stovetop hat the size of a pickle barrel. At the end of a long gold chain, he wore a pocket watch as big as a saucer, and his lapel was as bright as a yellow sunflower. I love all those similes in there. As big as a saucer. It took an hour for two porters to wrestle the giant, massive steamer trunk from the train. Stenciled on the side of the trunk in gold letters were the words, Captain Martin Van Buren Bates, 8th Wonder of the World. As Captain Bates strode down Main Street with his trunk under his arm, word of his arrival traveled fast. Soon, a crowd of people gathered to follow the giant through town. What's up? Captain Bates went straight to Mrs. Crawley's boarding house. The sign that hung beside the front door read, All peaceable folk welcome. So the captain rang the bell. Old Miss Crawley answered the door. Without even a whisper about the captain's amazing size, she calmly said, What brings you to town? A stranger kindly replied, I've traveled the world over in the circus with my wife, who is every inch my height. Together, we've entertained royalty and common folk alike. But now we're tired of show business and want to live a quiet life like everyone else. So I left my dear wife back east and boarded a train to search out the perfect place for a home. But it seems I'm just too big for every town I visit. so his wife is just as tall as him. Pretty big. Now, this was the most exciting thing ever to happen in the sleepy town of Seaville. All the townsfolk decided right then and there to make the giant feel right at home. Old Miss Crawley was a gracious hostess. She showed him to her finest room, the one with the king-sized bed. The bed may have suited a king, but later that night, Captain Bates was uncomfortable. Quietly, he opened the window of his room and stretched his legs out to full length. Shows his legs out the window as he slept. See, that's that exaggeration with tall tales. I don't think that actually happened. Maybe it did. Who knows? Old Miss Crawley, being a very sensitive to drafts, soon discovered the captain's sleeping arrangements. "He'll catch a death of cold," she said. So she bundled up her warmest robe. With the help of several neighbors, she built a roaring fire just outside the window. The next morning, Captain Bates awoke rested and refreshed, but poor old Miss Crawley was exhausted from tending the fire all night. See his toes out the window? Although she was very tired, Miss Crawley immediately set to work preparing breakfast for her special guest. But her griddle couldn't keep up with the captain's appetite for Johnny cakes. So several of the town's ladies showed up to help old Miss Crawley. Together they mixed 4 gallons of cake batter and had 5 frying pans going at once. After he had his fill, the captain leaned back in his chair with his hands on his belly and sighed, "Thank you kindly, ladies. That was the finest meal I had in quite a spell." If you ever read the tale of Paul Bunyan, that's also one where he eats a whole lot of pancakes in one sitting. And that's what, if you ever go to the Paul Bunyan restaurants, that's what they do. They give you a whole bunch of pancakes and eggs and bacon. So I wonder, is he like Paul Bunyan, this guy? I don't know. While sitting with the captain, Miss Crawley hit upon an idea. "We'll have a square dance tonight in the parlor," she beamed. "This way you can meet all the townsfolk, and then I'm sure you'll decide that Seaville is the perfect town for you and your wife." That night, everyone in town turned out for the big dance. The furniture was pushed off to one side and the carpet was rolled up. The sheriff of Seaville sat at the piano and the barber played the fiddle. As the music and dancing increased to a fever pitch, all the guests cleared the floor and formed a large circle. In the center, Captain Bates danced a jig with such vigor that everything began to shake. Oh no, his head is hitting the ceiling. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. When the dust cleared, everyone noticed a large hole in the floor. The crowd peered down and saw that Captain Bates had fallen through. He sat in the cellar, surrounded by splintered wood. Oh no. Do you think that could happen? I don't know. The men fetched a ladder to help the captain up. Luckily, the only thing injured was his pride. Captain Bates turned to old Miss Crawley and said, "I'm mighty embarrassed and sorry for all this damage I've done, especially after you've been so nice to me. Please add the cost of repairs to my bill. Perhaps it's best I catch the train in the morning. I guess I'm just too big for Seaville after all." What do you think the townspeople are going to do? I don't know. I got my anti-bullying shirt on today. Maybe that's what it's all about, being kind to your neighbor. Bright and early the next morning, the men and women of Seaville arrived. They were carrying hammers and saws and keys of nails. The captain thought they had come to repair the damage to Miss Crawley's floor, but he was wrong. A bugle began to play, and everyone marched together towards the edge of town. Old Miss Crowley took the captain's hand and they followed. What do you think the town people are building for him? Or is it for him? Let's see. The woman set up a big kettle and began preparing food as the men started to work laying foundation stones. The captain thought he was joining a barn raising party, but he wasn't. The men were building a house, a giant-sized house. The captain was touched by the kindness of the people of Seaville. And then he realized that he could not live in any other town. Captain Bates sent a telegram to his wife to let her know he had found a town where the people were small, but their hearts were giant. A few days later, Anna Bates arrived. The whole town of Seaville turned out to witness as Captain Bates carried his wife over the threshold of their new home, and the size was just right. All right. And so Mrs. Bates and Captain Bates were actually real people. So they were 7 feet 11 inches, and that's like a regular sized man. And they were born in 1845, and they continued to grow. So Mr. Bates was 7 feet 11 inches and weighed 525 pounds. He was in the Civil War as a private in the 5th Kentucky Infantry, and he was promoted to captain. After the war, he was billed as the world's tallest man and traveled with the circus. And then he met his wife, Anna Swan, who was also 7 feet 11 inches, and they joined the circus together. In 1871, they were married in London, and they were known as the tallest couple in the world. After touring the circus, they did settle down in Seaville, Ohio, and the house was complete with 14-foot ceilings and 8-foot high doors, and the furniture was built to order. So some of it was 100% true. And it makes me think of Guinness Book of World Records. I loved to look at all those different world records and see what all those interesting things were. Maybe I'll share with you a link about Guinness Book World Records, and maybe while you're at home, you can try to beat a world record, or even, you know, do 85 jumping jacks in 1 minute or something, whatever the records are. So try it out. And also measure around your house. How tall are your ceilings? Could Anna and the captain fit in your house or not? I don't know. Check it out and see. And I hope you have a very thankful Thursday.